r/ask Reddit. Men of Reddit who proposed and she said no, what happened afterwards with your life? My mother told my father no 3 times. On the 3rd time he got wasted at a local bar and basically started pouring his heart out to anyone who'd listen. Mind you, it's a very small village in the Italian Alps and my father barely spoke Italian and no one in the village spoke English, including my mother. Word got back to my mom about this sad American at the bar, so she went to find him and she told him she'd marry him. My parents celebrated their 44th anniversary last month. This sounds like a genuinely romantic movie. My mom actually said no to my dad's proposal when they were younger. Not because they weren't in love, but because she wasn't sure if it was something she actually wanted to do, rather than something that society expected of her or whatever. They still stayed together and had kids, hence why you're reading this now. And then when my dad was terminally ill a few years ago, my mom plucked up the courage and asked him. Just to get her back after all those years, he said no before taking her up on the offer a few days later. He died a happy man. Edit, holy shit, I uploaded this before bed and haven't been on Reddit since. Just flicked it on to see all of your lovely responses. Really does mean the world to hear people taking some joy from their story. Thanks so much. For a bit more context on this, it was actually 2 declined proposals, not just 1. Both pre-children too, so let's say I'm lucky. Also, when they did get married, it wasn't purely an action for the estate or whatever, they already had wills etc. sorted. It was just one of those last great days as a family. In fact, my sister and I were the only 2 present at the registry office. And when I say office, they literally squeezed us into one of the registrar's offices as there was a big waiting list for weddings and we didn't know how long he had. He died 3 months later, so we were all hugely grateful for them for helping us out like that. I'm so sorry for your loss. That was a beautiful story. Oh, I have a story about this. My friend A had been with his girlfriend B for years, so he decided he wanted to propose. What he didn't know is that B was also thinking about proposing to him. A proposed first, and B freaked out because she had already set her proposal and bought a ring, so she said no. Over the next week, B freaked out more and more, and refused to answer A's calls and messages. But then decided to use the money he had saved up to buy a plane ticket to Europe. What was supposed to be a 3-month trip through Western Europe turned out to be a year-long trip around the world. One day, A says that he's coming back and B decides to go and wait for him at the airport and propose to him there. It turns out that while being in Peru, A met a girl and they fell in love almost immediately, and got married in Peru. 5 years later, A and his Peruvian wife are still happily married and recently had a baby, while B hasn't still quite forgiven herself for ruining her relationship with A. I don't understand why B would say no if that was what she wanted to. I can understand the initial no if she wanted to do her plan instead, but cutting off all contact was a fatal mistake. We met in her home country of Germany while I was traveling. I knew I was in love. We dated long distance for a while. Me flying to Europe. Her flying to the US. I suggested marriage so we could be together. She said no a few times. I didn't press. But I was patient and not being pushy. I knew she was worth the wait. Then it hit her, that's how we could be together. If we got married, we could live in a country together. The difficulties of being born on a different patch of dirt. A few years later, I'm still married to my best friend and living with her in Germany. Not all no's stay no. Life goes on. She was an art major and I had just joined the army. We had been lovers since high school. I asked, she said no. She wanted to get her master's. We were friends for a while but we don't talk anymore. She works as a bartender I think now. I ended up getting married to my best friend. We've been married for more than a decade and have a 5-year-old son. My dad proposed to a woman who said no. My dad was a violent alcoholic and she said she couldn't be with him unless he got clean. Took him a little while, but he did it. He wound up meeting my mom through a matchmaker and they've been married 25 years. If that woman never said no to him, he never would have gotten clean. It was the lowest point in his life. But it all brought him to my mom, who makes him happier than ever. My dad talks to her sometimes. She got married to someone else and they had a son who died from a medical condition. Well, that story went well until the last 6 words. My husband asked 3 times in the span of a couple months. We had dated for 3 years. He was ready, I wanted to graduate college first. Also, don't propose by handing your a ring while you're both in the car on the way to Burger King. I'm low maintenance, but put some thought into it. My ex-husband didn't get the chance to propose. He had been keeping the ring hidden at his mom and dad's house. We were on our way out to dinner at a nice restaurant and we stopped at their house on the way there. I thought we were just there to say hi. We sat down for a few minutes and he excused himself to go to the bathroom. His mom followed him out of the room and returned a few moments later with him at her heels, tossed the ring box into my lap, and said, "I guess this is yours." I was ducking shocked. We had just found out I was pregnant and he had been planning to propose at Christmas but decided to do it early. His mother didn't like me, and she's definitely at least one of the things we divorced over. We lived together for another 6 years until she changed her mind and told me that I should ask again. We were engaged for over a year and got married in 1991. We are still married, have 3 children, and are both still very much in love. She had cancer. I said we should get married because I had full medical coverage from my work. She said no, and over time we grew apart. Haven't talked to her in 15 years, don't know if she died. I know a couple who did just that. He proposed in order to give her citizenship and health insurance so she could remain here and get cancer treatment she desperately needed. They stayed married for about 15 years and he even adopted her son, but they never lived together or were romantically involved. Years later, they divorced when he met the woman of his dreams and wanted to get married. They are all very close friends, with no drama. She lived in as a university professor now. He is in another state with the woman of his dreams. So this actor, Patrick Moot, proposes to his girlfriend at a basketball game and gets turned down. While on the giant jumbotron. Clip goes on YouTube, etc., etc. She tells him later that she turned him down because she thinks his dick is too small. So he travels around the world, documenting what other cultures think about penis size and penis enlargement, and made a movie about it called Unhung Hero. I've never watched it, but the title alone makes me laugh. I've seen that movie and it really was fascinating. He has a booming TikTok account these days. As a woman who was engaged and the proposal was later revoked, it still stings a little 11 years later. When you're sure you're with the love of your life, losing them can really pop a hole in your life plans. When did you start to feel better? It's been 7 months and I still can't believe we're not getting married. I miss him and our dog and our house every day, but according to him, he ruined everything and doesn't want me back because our relationship will always be damaged. I feel like I've died. Dated a woman for over 2 years and popped the question. First time she said, "I don't know." A couple months later I asked her again, she said, "Maybe." I was pretty bent out of shape. But then I found out she was sleeping with several of my friends, so I dodged a bullet there really. Damn dude, I'm sorry about your friends. Genuine shit bags of people to knowingly sleep with your girl. I hope you find better friends. That would literally break me. Like cheating is shitty AF, but a coworker or someone you don't trust. It's 1000% better than going to vent to your friend about your girl cheating and he's like, "Yeah, I'm that other guy." It happened to a friend of mine, and honestly I think it did break him. His girlfriend slept with his oldest friend. This was a couple of years ago. I remained friends with the guy for a while afterward, and his personality within the relationship just seemed to, for lack of a better word, crumple. She continued to sleep with other guys, and manipulated him into blaming himself for her unfaithfulness. I was a young Marine. I was only home during the weekends. Was dating this girl for about a year from my hometown. When I asked, she said yes. Her dad, former Navy, kept saying we should wait. We put it off for a bit longer. Fast forward another year. She dumped me. Father informs me she has been sleeping with a lot of guys. Like more than 50 over the 2 years we dated. And was very happy I didn't marry her. And apologizes to me for her behavior. She then totally ghosting everyone including her family for about 6 months. Find out she moved 7 HRS away and was living under a house. Not a basement. Under a house with her new BF. She calls her mom to come get her. Mother and father ask me to go get her and bring her home. Good times. Good times. Well, did you? Edit, nothing like some suspense to get my most upvotes ever, aha. Thank you. Yep, I was not a smart man. Damn, what a military bro. Knew she couldn't resist Jody and saved you from it, his own daughter. Hope you bought that guy a beer or 20. I asked her right out of high school, but she wasn't ready. We stayed together, went to college at the same school, spent the first year in separate dorms, then moved in together. Got married a few years later. Our 20th is coming up. My mom told my dad no when he proposed to her even though they were already living together. She thought he was impotent and it wasn't until she got pregnant that she said yes. In retrospect, I wish my parents had decided early in their relationship that they can barely stand each other. I think you meant infertile. Impotence is an inability to perform sexual normally, referring to not being able to maintain an erection. A buddy of mine told me once he will never have kids because he's going to get a hysterectomy. That was 20 years ago and still just as funny now. I spoke to her about it beforehand, and she seemed really keen on the idea. So I decided to propose about a week after in front of all our friends. She was so shocked she picked me up off my knee and shooed me away. Most of our friends were confused, because everyone knew it was going to happen, and she said she was excited for it. I didn't know what to do, it was all really embarrassing, and later she explained she didn't mean no, she just didn't know what to say and was scared. She said yes after apologizing profusely, and just this year we celebrated our 9th anniversary. Edit, I'm happy that this comment blew up, but I feel like the next time I tell someone it is an icebreaker they're going to say, I read this on Reddit. My dad maintains to this day that my mom never said yes till she said I do. She laughs when she's nervous and never actually said yes, but put the ring on while laughing. He took it as a yes. They will be married 39 years come August. Together 44. My mom never said yes at the altar, instead said bueno, well, in Spanish. To his day my dad says they're not really married. In November they'll be married for 41 years, dated for 12. 17.3. What an awful time to find out she has bad stage fright. LMAO, super happy it worked out for y'all though. My mother turned my father down, but didn't outright break up with him. She just wasn't sure about the marriage idea, she valued her independence and was nervous about commitment. No hard feelings, though. He called up the next day when she'd had more time to think about it, and she said yes after all. They celebrated 32 years of marriage last month. Just the fact that they could say those things to each other and still be respectful and friendly, loving, that's the key there. My parents are almost sickeningly respectful and loving. When she gave birth, one of the nurses remarked she'd never seen a laboring mother ask her husband how he was feeling until then. You're the first patient I've had who didn't cuss him out. Your mother, hey, how are you feeling? Do you need some ice chips or something? I totally understand if you're feeling stressed out, I mean this is some crazy stuff. Just let me know. Your father, there is a human head shoving itself out of your body right now, but yeah, I'm fine. Should we get pizza after this? Haha, pretty much. Mom's a very empathetic person and she could tell he was fretting, so she was trying to set a calm tone. It's not like childbirth isn't stressful for expectant fathers, even though obviously they're not the main focus of the proceedings.